Internet land, and welcome back. Here is where you will find all types of various vintage inspired videos. And for today's video, I am going to be taking you back to October. Halloween is sadly over, but what I'm not over is our Halloween costumes. And I am sharing with you how we created those from start to finish. And you're probably wondering, okay, well, what were you? We went as 1960s Tomorrowland Disney characters. I'm gonna put some of the photos here that we used as a reference. None of this would have been possible without my mother-in-law, who donated her time, skill, talent to making all of this possible. It was a labor of love. I know that Halloween is now a year, a little bit less away, but I'm hoping that this will either inspire your costume for next year, or if you're into cosplay, there's always an opportunity for that throughout the year. So maybe you'll learn something, maybe you'll get inspired. The helmet itself, let me tell you, it was a labor of love, and it took some problem solving to figure it out because it's not a real helmet, it's a lamppost cover, and it doesn't naturally balance on your head. So it took us a few hours of troubleshooting, trying different things to see what would best balance that. We finally figured it out, and I'm gonna share with you what we did, so maybe you can try the same thing. This thing was very solid, and you'll see how we did it. So come along with me and let's go back to Halloween together. All right, here we are in my mother-in-law's sewing room. This is where all of the magic took place. Here is just an overview of the things we used. This is the fabric. Here is the pattern. Mine was basically a tunic with bike shorts underneath, and it was actually my mother-in-law who found this fabric, and it ended up being perfect. So I will put more details about it in the description of the video. This was the main inspiration photo that we were working off of, and the time that Disneyland had these characters, the outfit did change over the years, but I do believe this was the first original one when they were introduced at the parks in 1967. And then a few days after this, I went back to my mother-in-law's house, and here were the finished costumes. I tried it on with this belt, though I didn't end up using that one, and tested out which of the shoes that I bought were best, and there was a clear winner, and the one I wore was really comfortable. Then it was time to get this helmet going, so what I was doing here was measuring 1.5 inches around the opening of this lamppost cover to then be able to cut it wider so it can actually fit over my head. And then I realized doing this outside would probably be better, and then I just realized I was not comfortable with using this Dremel that I bought just for this particular job, so I enlisted the help of my husband to finish cutting that opening as well as the front face opening. These were all the materials that we used for the helmet. There was wire gauge, suction cups, and some other various little things to decorate it with. This was an important part. This was going to go on the upper inside of the helmet to match our inspiration photo, and I honestly think it added so much to the final look. These were my mother-in-law's idea, and they were a perfect way to cover up the rough edges from where we cut the holes. This ended up being a little bit more of a pain than I anticipated. This was the piece of fabric we were putting up inside of the helmet. We sprayed it with spray adhesive a couple of times, put it in, it kept sticking to itself, and we found the best way was to put it in, spray the back, lay that down, and then spray the front. As we were troubleshooting how we were going to get this to balance on my head, one of our ideas was to cut out this foam circle and place it around the outside of the helmet and see if that would balance on my shoulders. It did not, but that foam actually came in so handy because we had the idea if we put something at the back of the helmet, wrapped it in the same fabric as the costume, it would serve as a headrest, and it worked perfectly. So after that important step of figuring out how to get it to balance on my head was complete, it was time to do the fun part, which was to decorate it. So I had purchased 2 different wire gauges to use both of them, but then it ended up being that the 3mm one was much better than the 2mm in terms of being able to hold its shape. I would even say for the wire that goes around the helmet, you could get away with 4mm because I think mine was sturdy, but it maybe could have been even a little bit more sturdy. I placed suction cups around the helmet and then attached to the suction cups a little piece of wire that looped around the wire that circled the entire helmet. I love these little baubles. So the circles were from Michaels, and that right there is actually just a furniture moving disc that was painted with silver glitter fabric paint. I know that the wire was a little bit bent. I did my best to straighten it out after this, and so maybe if you used a thicker gauge, that wouldn't be so much of a problem. Lastly, I added this collar. This was just the foam we cut out earlier, wrapped in the fabric of the costume and a little decorative trim on the front. Then I painted my nails and it was time to do a photo shoot, and here is the big reveal of our costumes. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you either learned something or were inspired to make your own creation, or maybe just entertained along the way. If you have any questions about how we did anything, let me know in the comments and I will do my best to answer those. And I will also put in the description of this video all of the materials that we used in the creation of our costume. Until that next video, I am wishing you a super swell day, and I'll see you then. Bye.